Hey guys, welcome to the I Hope They Hear This podcast, and we have yet another special guest. And just a disclaimer, before I get into the disclaimer, we have Mr. David Kim.
Hi guys.
Hello, David. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
This is a disclaimer. We actually recorded an episode last week, but the conditions were all really bad. David wasn't feeling well. I was super excited, so I just started doing like a rapid fire questioning session. So it was kind of all over the place, and we just decided, why don't we just re-record it? And since we're all about authenticity here, we decided to let you guys know, just so you're aware. Because in a lot of the podcast, I actually find out a lot of things about the guest during the podcast. So my reaction is, oh, really? And I try to dig deeper. But just because we talked once through it, I don't know if we'll have a lot of those today.
I'll surprise you.
Oh, yes, yes. That'd be great. Before we get into kind of talking about your life, because I feel like you have an interesting life, can you just give us a brief introduction of who you are, what you do, both of your vocations, and just, your family life and all that?
My name is David Kim again. During the week, I work as a structural engineer, and on the weekends, I serve at church as the youth director and the worship director at our church. Married to Blaire, and I have 2 children, Eli and Zoe.
Yes, so cute. And you're at Hanvision, right? You work with
Yes.
Pastor Joe, who was a previous guest on this podcast. Let me ask you, how is that? How is it working with him?
How is he working with Pastor Joe?
Yeah, because what I know of Pastor Joe is he's such a kind of go by the flow. Well, from what I've observed, he's a very kind of go by the flow kind of guy.
What does that mean?
Like go with the how he's just like, oh, this happened, that's okay. We'll kind of go with the flow.
Oh, that's true. He is.
But I feel like you kind of need more structure.
I do.
Right.
I'm a very structured person. So I think it works well that way because if he wasn't like that, I feel like it would be too structured. So he takes us a little bit more in that way. And I think there's a good balance between if it goes too crazy.
Right. Oh, that's good. So you guys kind of complement each other instead of because that could be sometimes it could be a source of tension.
It could, but I think the reason it works well is because, at least I trust him. I think we both have a mutual trust, and so I think that's the main thing, honestly. Yeah. Because even if it is going, with the flow, or if it is too structured, I think we have a mutual respect for each other and trust that we, it's not just because I want it done a certain way. And especially the reason it works, I think, for me is because I know that if he's doing something, it's because he has a really strong conviction that it should be done that way. Yeah. And so, I think that's why it works well.
I see. Oh, interesting. That's one of the questions I did not ask previously.
Gotcha.
You have an interesting upbringing because you're not exactly a Korean American, right? You're like a Korean Brazilian American,
right?
So you grew up in Brazil.
I did grow up in Brazil.
How did that happen? Because, interesting fact. 2 episodes before you, we had a guest named Danny.
Yes.
And his wife is from Brazil.
I know, yeah.
And we talked about it. You don't know her. That's kind of surprising.
That is surprising. But I mean, I guess you told me she came here earlier, right?
Yeah, she said,
she was younger.
I think when she was 10.
Yeah, so that's probably why.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how did you end up in Brazil? How did your family end up in Brazil?
I keep telling this story, but there might be not real. I feel like I'm drawing things from my memory. I'm like, I'm trying to think they told me this. But so the story is, long story short, my grandfather went to Brazil right around the time when my parents were either getting married or had just gotten married because his friend had gone to Brazil.
And they were in Korea?
Yes, they were all in Korea.
Okay.
So my grandfather's friends in Brazil, and he's like, hey, come check it out because right now they're giving out, what do you call it? I guess you call it green cards here in America, but something like that, citizenship. I'm not sure what that is. But so he went, and then as he went there, I'm not sure why, but he told my dad and my mom to come check it out too. And so he said, hey, just come, try to do something. Let me, worst case scenario, just go back, And so they went, they got their, green cards, quote unquote, and they ended up staying. Yeah.
So was it like just looking for a business opportunity?
I think it was, yeah.
I see, okay.
I'm assuming it's just because the conditions in Korea at that time weren't that great either. And so, a lot of people went to America, and I guess that was just another place.
Right. So your parents go to Brazil, and obviously did they start a business? They started a business, right?
So they started selling clothes. So what they do, what a lot of people do in Brazil is, a lot of people, I mean Korean Americans or Korean Brazilians, they become like wholesale clothing sellers. So I'll go door to door, like each store, and be like, hey, I have this. Like, how much you want to buy? So that's what they started doing. And my mom just couldn't do it because it was just so much getting ripped off. Because, they will get them the product, and then like months later is when they pay. I don't know. The system in Brazil is kind of weird.
Right.
And so a lot of times they would just have to keep going, ask for money, but then money wasn't coming.
Yeah.
Also, she didn't like the amount of like product that they had to hold, the bulk, because clothing is all, big when you bundle it. So they ended up, not doing that anymore and starting women's accessory store.
Oh, okay.
Importing from Korea, I think, or China.
So importing from somewhere in Asia, and selling it retail,
wholesale.
Yeah. Okay.
But not door to door. Just they had a store, a physical store that would sell, import, and wholesale to
I
other.
see.
Yeah.
And so, were you born in Brazil?
I was born in Brazil.
Oh wow.
And me and my brother were born in Brazil. Huh?
Yeah, and you have a younger sister too, right?
I do.
She wasn't born in Brazil?
She was born in Korea.
Interesting.
Yes. They got you.
That is a surprise. Wait, so just walk me through the timeline, because you and your brother, you're like a year or two apart, right?
Yes, a year and a half.
And so during that period, you guys were, obviously your parents were in Brazil.
Right.
And your sister, who is it 5?
4 years younger than me.
Yeah, 4 years younger than you. Were your parents living in Korea at the time, or how was she born?
No, so my sister was actually upside down in the womb, so they had to do they knew they had to do a C-section, and so my mom wasn't comfortable doing it in Brazil, and so she just went to Korea.
Oh, interesting. So does she have like a Korean citizenship?
She does.
Oh,
she's Korean.
Oh wow! But you don't, right?
I have dual citizenship right now. I'm Korean and Brazilian.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's weird.
And you have a green card in America, right?
I do.
You're married to a U.S. citizen?
Yes.
Oh, wow. You have a lot of options.
I guess so.
In case something goes down. Oh, interesting. Okay. So how was it like growing up in Brazil?
Growing up in Brazil was great. It was fun. Yeah, it was good.
Because here, when I grew up in LA. So I grew up in a huge Korean population. So it wasn't much of a transition going from Korea to LA.
Oh, okay.
But for you, did you grow up amongst other Brazilian Koreans? Or?
Yes. So there is not a huge population, but there is a pretty big population in Brazil of Koreans, and they all, of course, stay together. And so, we have kind of a little town, kind of like Duluth-ish, a lot smaller, obviously.
I see.
And all, church culture, Korean church culture is where I grew up. So because it's a lot smaller than Atlanta or LA, of course, everyone kind of knows each other. So that's how the culture is. But very similar to here, just, people kind of know each other.
Yeah. And one of the things that when we talked the first time that kind of interested me is, well, I guess we'll talk about it in a bit, but you talk about how you came to America for schooling, and in fact, so that both of your siblings, right?
Yes.
But you said one of the reasons was because it's a little dangerous in Brazil. So can you explain what that danger was about?
Yes. The danger is about people in the streets trying to get you. but it's just dangerous in general, meaning you always have to kind of watch your back to make sure, don't walk around with your phone out. Like, people can come and run and just snatch things from you.
Oh, wow.
So the reason, honestly, nothing ever happened to me, but my mom has been robbed a couple times in her car.
Gosh.
So, when you stop at a red light, they come and they have like a spear looking thing that'll go through your window, and it has a hook, and they'll like snatch your bag. Yeah, they're really good. They're really skilled. So they hook your bag and they run away in an instant. So that's happened to my mom. But just in general, it's just very dangerous. People, getting robbed is not really surprising, which is weird because one of the things I liked growing up in Brazil was the ability to independently go places. So because I guess the train system, metro system exists, and it's not good, but it exists and goes to everywhere I need to go.
Yeah.
Because it's very small. Kids walk around like since they're like from 12, 13 years old. They're just walking around everywhere and like, taking the train. And so it's kind of weird because it's super dangerous, but then at the same time it's super, independent, and the kids are just walking around.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yes.
I mean, but America was a little bit like that back in the day too. Because I remember when I lived in LA, like in Georgia, in the suburbs of Georgia, it's hard to just walk around because everything's so spaced out.
Yes.
And there's no like public transportation. But in LA where I lived, like I would walk to the grocery store by myself. I would walk to a Blockbuster. Some of the younger listeners won't even know what that is. Yeah, that's pre-Netflix days. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I wonder. Have you been back to Brazil recently?
Last time we went was for a mission trip, I think, or was it my wedding? Last time was 2015 or 16, I think.
Were there still kids kind of walking around independently?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I guess that is different then, because here it's not so much anymore. Oh, I see. That's interesting. So the biggest danger was just people kind of regularly being robbed wherever.
Yeah. So
I see. Yeah. So you came to America, right? Obviously, because you are here now.
Yes.
And we alluded to the fact that you schooled here. So how was that transition from growing up your entire life in Brazil, suddenly you're in an American university system at Georgia Tech?
Right.
Yeah. How was that?
It was interesting. Well, I did come to the States once before, on sixth grade. So I guess the transition of one country to another wasn't that big. So when I came here in sixth grade, which was the first time I came, that transition was really big for me because I came again by myself, and I homestayed, which is, you stay at a person's house.
Yeah.
And you just survive. It was a year for me, and I guess it was half sixth grade and half seventh grade because the Brazil school system starts in January.
Oh, yeah.
So I came when my schooling ended there, and which my sixth grade ended or fifth grade ended. And then I came here for half of each.
I see.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's weird. I think I don't want to say most, but like Korea, their schooling starts January and ends in this.
Yes.
It makes sense because it's the...
It does make sense. I don't understand.
Yeah.
I am very confused every time. Well, that's one of the things I'm super confused about American culture.
Like why we do that?
Yes.
Yeah. Nobody has the answer. But can you tell the story of what family you stayed with?
Yes. So when I came during sixth grade, I stayed with Yu Sung-jin's parents, which at the time, well, not at the time, they still are.
Yeah.
The parents of this super famous Korean singer that got banned from Korea, pretty much.
Yeah, so just to give context to people who don't know, Yu Sung-jin is a K-pop star. He was one of the most famous at the time. At his prime, by himself, he filled stadiums. And I think he even had a following in the other Asian countries. And back then, that wasn't... actually, am I getting the right person? But anyways, he was mega famous.
Yeah,
he was super famous, and the controversy that happened that got him banned from a country is Korea has mandatory military service for all male from, I think the age is from 18 to 30 or something like that. There's like an age range where you have to go to the army in. And he made a big deal saying, "Oh, I'm going to do it. It's going to be great." But the last second, since he was born in America, he was an American citizen. He had a dual citizenship while he was performing. At the last second, he renounced or relinquished his Korean citizenship so that he wouldn't be obligated to go to the military.
I did not know that part.
Yeah. So
that's how he got out. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, other celebrities have done some crazy things, but he just said, "I'm no longer a Korean citizen."
Wow.
And so Korea as a country got so upset and they felt so betrayed that the entire country said, "You can no longer come here."
Oh, gosh.
So at the time when you were living at his parents' house, this was after he got banned, right?
Yes, because he was already in the States.
He was, okay,
Yeah.
he was in the States.
Yeah, he was living around. I'm not sure where he lived, but he lived around his parents because he would come sometimes because they had a family prayer gathering sometimes. So he would come to those.
Wow. Did you ever talk to him?
Yeah, he was cool.
Oh, wow.
He was like showing me his car. He's like, "Oh, look, my car's so cool." It was an Escalade, but he had like a, what do you call it, remote starter for the car. And I was like, "Oh, look, so cool." Like this 10-year-old kid. I was like, "Oh." Yeah.
And when was this? What year was this?
This was, oh my gosh, I don't know.
So if you were in 6th grade, you graduated college, what?
14.
In 6th grade.
10th grade is when I graduated high school. So 2004?
Right, 2003, 2004, right? I
3,
see.
4.
Okay. So yeah, back then remote start cars weren't that.
Yeah.
And Escalades were super popular. Yeah.
They're nice. It was a nice car.
Was it ever like awkward when he was around? Because obviously the family knows that he got banned from their home country, right?
I don't think there was any. I didn't feel anything.
Yeah.
But then the thing is, I didn't stay that long. I didn't stay there for the full year. I didn't tell you this last time.
Okay.
Because I forgot.
Where'd you go? Well, before that though, how did you even get connected to that family for the homestay?
Again, I could be making this up, but I'm pretty sure that. So my best friend's dad is a pastor or a missionary that has a lot of connections, in Brazil and America, and he somehow knew the parents because they are very involved in church, I think, and so that's how I got connected to.
I see.
Them, I think, but I'm not sure.
I see. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah,
because if they're having prayer meetings at home, then
right.
Yeah,
I guess.
see.
Yeah.
Okay, so what other family that you go to?
So what happened was that up to that point in my life, I had never slept by myself. I always slept either with my mom and then with my brother. So getting there in that house, I had this like room that was literally empty with, I don't know if it was a mattress or just blankets on the ground for me to sleep, a computer, and a giant closet that was just, those closets that are just mirror, like a giant mirror door. Yeah, so I was in this room and I could not sleep because I was so scared. And every night I would just, fight, and just sleep with the lights on and stuff like that. And then one day I was video chatting with my mom. It was like MSN video.
Right, yeah.
And it was raining and I started like bawling. I was like crying because I was so scared. And then that night my mom called her best friend, who lives in LA, to come pick me up and take me to her house. And so I moved to her house and I lived there for the rest of the time. I think it was 4 months in this house and the rest in this other house. But it was crazy because it was her and her daughter living in this 1-bedroom apartment. So they would share the room, but then because I came, I shared the room with the daughter. and mom slept in the living room for that whole year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, just on the ground.
Wow. Was it better when you went there?
Yeah, it was because I was very comfortable with them. I'd grown up with her, and she's almost like, my cousin. And so I guess I just didn't go there in the first place because it was uncomfortable, just to. But I ended up staying there.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure the transition from Brazil to America didn't help with your whole sleeping situation and all
yes.
that. Oh, wow.
That was awful.
Wow. So then that transition wasn't that great. But what about the second time around when you came back for college?
So the second time around, it was a little better because this time I understood English and I could kind of speak it.
Wait, so the first time you came, you knew zero English, right?
I knew zero English,
and you just picked up the language within that 1 year time frame?
I think so. I'm not sure. Like, I mean, I must have some, right? At least, because I'm sure by the end of the year, I was kind of understanding what they were saying. But yeah, I think that was the hardest thing for me, just not understanding, and not being able to communicate.
Right.
But this time around, I understood English. I could communicate. I could talk. It sucks to be alone, but I feel like I was like determined to I'm gonna, make friends. And for me specifically, I was like, I'm gonna make American friends.
Right.
Yeah, because I was like, I'm not gonna just hang out with Korean people like I did growing up.
Or like Caucasian friends you wanted.
Yes, I wanted Caucasian friends because growing up, it was very separate. Like my church friends were all Korean, and then my school friends were all Brazilian. But then I feel like I never really hung out with the Brazilian friends outside of school. Maybe sometimes towards the end, but then usually I'll be hanging out with my Korean friends.
Right.
So I was like, maybe I should try something different. But it didn't happen that way.
Right. So what did happen? How did you get plugged into the kind of Korean American community here?
So what happened was I was, on my way to making Caucasian friends. First week, I even went around they had rush for the fraternities. Yeah, I went around just to check it out, what was happening. It's what you see in the movies. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah. But ended up going into BCM, which is Baptist.
Okay. BCM.
Christian Ministries? I don't know.
Okay.
BCM. It's yeah.
Is that do they have the building on?
They do have the building right next to the freshman dorms.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I ended up going in there, making some friends. They invited me out to, go to church with them and hang out with them. And so I made some friends there. And I was hanging out with them, And I think second week or first week, one of those, going through the main connector place, between Student Center and the library, that big.
Skiles Walkway.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Koreans had their table. And they're like, hey, you want Korean food? And I was like, sure. Right. Because I kind of missed it. I was like, I'm just going to eat some and, it'll be fine. Yeah. But I ended up staying. Cause
and that was, which ministry was that with?
It was a campus ministry. I don't know if I should say the name. Should I?
Oh, do you not want to?
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
No, not to me.
Oh, it's like Campus Crusade for Christ.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if
No, I see.
But yeah.
So then another question I didn't ask you last time is, were there any culture shocks that you experienced? So you revealed that the school system, the school calendar, that was awkward.
Yes,
but
that was really awkward.
Other than that, were there any other culture shocks you experienced?
A few that I can think of. One of them was, this was when I was in 6th grade. When when a guy greets another guy from afar, they kind of do this head, like a what's up kind of thing. Yeah. For me, I didn't know that's what that meant. But it kind of in Brazil, if you do that, it kind of looks like what you're looking at. You know what I'm saying? Instead of what's up. Yeah. So it was really weird to me. I mean, I figured they weren't saying that to me, but it was weird because everyone kept doing that. And I was like, okay, that's weird.
You kind of took it offensively a little bit?
Kind of, yeah.
Interesting.
That. Another one was tipping culture. I still don't understand it.
Oh, yeah.
I still don't understand. I mean, tipping servers, I kind of understand. But I don't understand when you're supposed to tip and when you're not for a service. Because I'm already paying you for the service.
Right.
Like a haircut. Like I'm paying for the haircut.
Yeah.
But then I have to tip you for my haircut.
Yeah.
Like a taxi, I'm paying you to drive me, but then I have to tip you. You know, and so everything, I don't know when you have to, when you don't. And so it's hard for me because I end up tipping too much, I think. Like in places that I shouldn't.
Yeah.
Now I'm kind of stopping.
Yeah.
But then, like, yeah.
You know, even that kind of confuses me too.
Uh-huh.
When I go to, so traditionally, like, for example, drinks, right? When you go to a place to get, not like alcohol drinks, but like bubble tea or like smoothies or something, you don't really tip. I don't think you really tip, right? But nowadays...
Oh, shoot, you do. Yeah, you're right.
Nowadays, they flash that like, screen at you and say, well, how much do you want to tip? Yeah. So is it okay to say no tip? Or do you have to tip?
I feel awkward saying no tip.
Right.
So I almost feel like they're forcing me to tip.
Yeah.
Which they do. You know, I tip.
Yeah.
You're right. I end up tipping.
I do too. But there are times where I'll do no tip if I know I'm just taking it and leaving. But if I know I'm staying there, I'll... Yeah.
But then if you do no tip, you have to go to the end of the screen, like skip the receipt and everything, and then turn it back so that it's back to the original screen. You know, so they don't see that you didn't tip.
Yeah. Wow, yeah.
I've done that.
And you know, one other thing, I actually got culture shock from this. When Shirley and I got married, almost all the vendors, you have to tip. Which is, it's weird because, again, you're paying for their services.
Yeah, I don't understand.
But you have to tip on top of that? Tipping
weird.
Culture,
Yeah.
It's weird.
It is weird.
If anyone out there understands it, please explain it to us.
Yeah, please send an email.
Because that's weird. So another question. Because the first time you came to the States, going to LA makes sense to me, right? Because it's LA, Los Angeles. In a lot of movies, America is depicted as LA, right? But when time came for you to choose a college, you came to Georgia.
Yes, I
of
did.
all places.
I did.
So what drew you here to Georgia or Georgia Tech?
Really is because I didn't get into MIT.
Oh, I see.
So that was really the school I wanted to go to. But they didn't want another regular Asian kid. I'm convinced. So because during the interview, because they have an interview process, I guess. The guy was asking me questions, and the last question he asked me was, so what's the craziest thing you've ever done? And I didn't have an answer for him. I was like, I don't know. I've never done anything crazy. And so his response was kind of like, he didn't say this exactly, but it was along the lines of, oh, so you're just another, good kid that got good grades, which, the college motto is like they're trying to find someone who stands out, I guess. Right. And, everyone gets good grades. He's right. So I didn't get in.
So you just really wanted to go to a technology school?
Yeah, I just wanted to get into a good school. Honestly, it comes down to, because you don't know anything, especially from Brazil. All you can know is rankings. So Georgia Tech was ranked 5th, I think, in the nation for my major.
I see.
And so I just chose that one over the other ones.
Oh wow! So it was just. Did you know anything about Georgia?
I knew nothing.
Were you expecting it to be kind of like LA?
I don't know. Actually, I don't know what I was expecting. I don't remember that. But it's funny that that person that I lived with in LA, my, I guess, quote unquote cousin, and she was in Georgia.
Oh, okay.
She was in Savannah, in SCAD. Yeah,
oh,
she was in SCAD.
Okay. So that probably made you feel a little better too, right?
Yes, I think that made my parents feel a little better.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I don't know, maybe not, but yeah.
Oh, so it was just purely just what you wanted to do, which was you studied civil engineering.
Yes,
right?
I did.
You looked at the ranking. MIT was probably number 1, whatever, and then
I think MIT was lower than Tech.
Oh, really? But it's more prestigious.
The name.
Yeah, whatever.
I'm Korean. I'm still Korean.
Yeah. I still think Georgia Tech is better. But yeah, so I see. And so you studied at Georgia Tech, and you dated and got married pretty early, right?
I did.
So how did that come about? Because the person that you ended up dating wasn't even a student at Georgia Tech.
She wasn't.
Yeah.
So she was a 5th year at UGA because she had transferred from UC Irvine. And she was serving with this campus ministry. And she was helping pioneer the ministry because they're just starting in Georgia. And she was helping them because she was doing it in Irvine, and then she knew the people. And so my freshman year was when I met her. So she's 4 years older than me. And yeah, I met her the first week or two, or second week, I don't know. And then became friends, and then started dating. And we're here now.
So did she grow up in LA?
No, I think she was born in LA. I should know this, but and then she came here when she was 3, I think.
Okay.
And then she grew up in Marietta.
I see.
Okay.
That's right. Because it would have been cool if you guys were in LA at the same time when you were here or you were there for, yeah. So okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Okay, I see. So yeah, you met Blaire. She started because she was here helping out with KC3.
Yes.
And how did you? Because does helping out mean that she came every week, or was she only here for like the first few?
No, she came every week.
Oh wow!
She came twice a week, I think.
Oh wow!
Yeah, she would come every week.
That's quite a drive.
Yeah, from Athens. Yeah,
like hour and a half, depending on traffic.
Yeah, depending on the day, I guess. Yeah, if it was like a Thursday night or some Thursday, so she would come Thursday, Friday, and then I guess she would come Sundays for church. So she'd come a lot. Yeah.
So you guys saw each other a lot. How did that happen? Like, was it just purely you guys hung out all together, or was there moments where you guys were just kind of by yourselves?
Mostly it was around people, like with big groups. I guess the only couple times that it was just by ourselves is when she was giving me rides, because I didn't have a car, nor did I have a license. I had nothing. I was just walking around. So really, that's how it started. Like, she just looked at me as this poor 동생 that needed help.
So for the people out there, because you mentioned you guys are 4 years apart. She's 4 years older. Oh, fun fact. The age difference between you and Blaire is almost exactly the same as the age difference between me and Shirley.
Yes.
Because you and Shirley, your birthdays are few weeks apart.
Yes.
Me and Blaire, our birthdays are like few weeks apart. So me as a guy approaching someone younger isn't as intimidating as approaching someone older. Did you have any of those fears or intimidations?
No, because I think I was just approaching it as in that kind of I wasn't directly approaching her as, hey, you want to date me? I was just like trying to get to know her. And yeah, I don't think, because I didn't have those intentions initially, I think it wasn't intimidating.
I see. But I'm sure as you guys were getting closer, you started developing feelings, right? As those feelings were developing, you didn't have any sort of, oh shoot, what if she doesn't see me as a guy but more of a 동생, which in Korean means like literally younger brother, right? You didn't have any of those kind of fears?
I'm sure I did, but honestly I don't remember. Yeah, I might have, probably. But I did grow up a lot with mostly 누나들's, or older, what do you call it, older girls. So 누나 at our church.
The direct translation is older sister, but we use it for just anyone older that's kind of close.
Right. Girls.
Right.
Yeah. So my church didn't have any girls my age. I think we had 0 girls my age. Maybe 1. But they're all kind of Blaire's age.
So you were kind of comfortable.
So comfortable growing up with them, and
I see.
Hanging out with them.
Oh wow. Okay, so then moving forward, right? Because you guys were dating. Actually, another question. This is actually a controversial question. Okay. So if you can say it, you don't want to answer if you don't want to.
Okay.
But I was a part of KC3 for a little bit too when I was at Georgia Tech, and I know it's not really a rule, but they strongly discourage underclassmen from dating. But when you started dating Blaire, weren't you still an underclassman?
I was.
So was there any sort of like weird looks from other people in the ministry or anything like that?
Mm-hmm. Yes, but the way we went about it was, I think, instead of just doing both, dating and doing the ministry, because the rule was don't date, until you're older. I chose to disciple people outside of the ministry. So we just, talked to the leaders, and we came to the conclusion, look, we're dating, and we understand the rule. So I don't think I should serve here. Blaire was graduating anyways, and so it was really for me to make the decision of, okay, do I want to do campus ministry, which is really learning how to disciple and discipling other people. But for me, I don't know if it's because I grew up at church, but for me, it was like, there are other ways I can disciple people.
Right.
And so I think that's the decision that we made.
Oh, right.
Together.
So the rule was for the people serving in the ministry.
Yeah.
I see. So,
but inevitably, if you're going out, you end up being a servant. So by the second or third year, second year, you become a servant leader. So you disciple people. So if you're a leader,
right,
then you're not supposed to, I guess.
I see.
Until the fourth year. I'm not sure.
So you chose love instead of.
I did.
I see. No, it's the right choice. You ended up marrying her.
Yeah, I know. That's what I tell myself.
I see. Okay. So then, other than that, I know Blaire kind of touched on this. Actually, I actually want Blaire on the podcast as soon as well. So I'll let her tell her side of it.
Yeah.
Because I heard a little bit of that last time. But were there any kind of societal challenges that you feel like you had to overcome with the age gap, other than what we talked about?
For me, I don't think so. I never felt. I never felt anything.
It's mostly just a Korean thing, right? More
Probably.
than American.
Or I don't know. Is it?
I feel like American people don't care.
Well, I'm not American, so I'm not sure.
Because like in pop culture, Ashton Kutcher.
Yes.
You know who that is? He married Demi Moore, who was like 20 years older than him.
Okay, see, that's a lot.
Yeah, and I guess it might be just more of a Korean culture thing. Yeah, I don't know. Anyone out there knows? Let us know.
No. It's an American thing too.
Is it?
Because they have a name for older girls that.
Oh, like Cougar.
Yeah.
Oh.
See?
Oh, interesting.
That's a thing.
That is a thing, I guess. Huh. Yeah. You know what? I'll ask Blaire if she felt any pressures as a quote unquote cougar. Okay. So you guys dated from when you were second year in college until like a year or two after you graduated, right? And then you got married.
Yes.
So how old were you when you got married?
22.
Yeah,
turning
so
23.
That's relatively early.
It's very early.
Yeah.
It's extremely early.
So how did you decide to, at such an early age, propose, get married, and the whole shebang?
How did I decide? I think it was just it was gonna happen anyways. So I don't know. I guess there was no reason for us to prolong it too much. And to be completely honest, also thinking about like her age, since she is 4 years older than me, then if I had waited 3-4 more years, then I felt like if she got married when she was 30 or 30 something, and then had more than one kid, we just felt like it would be more difficult.
Right. Yeah.
That's why.
And so you right now you are 27?
Yes.
And your oldest kid is
3
years old. Right. So by the time, if you're doing the math, by the time you have sent all your kids to college, you'll probably still be at most your late 40s, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a good age to be an empty nester.
It's a great age.
Yeah.
Start something new.
Yeah. Yeah, I see. So that's interesting. It was a combination of just it's going to happen anyways, and also a little bit of age consideration.
Yeah.
I see. But nowadays, I feel like girls getting married at like 30, it's not that uncommon.
It's not. You're right. It's not uncommon.
But did you still kind of already have a thought that was too late?
Maybe I had a preconception in my mind that
Right.
was too late. And honestly, like just looking back now, or from hindsight, I feel like it would have been harder just body wise. Like, your body just gets more tired.
Yeah.
I'm glad that I'm a young dad because I can, run around and play with him
Right.
and her, Eli and Zoe. But then I feel like if I was a lot older, it would be difficult.
I see.
I don't know.
And are you guys done with 2 kids, or
Yes.
you're for sure done?
Yeah, unless, the Holy Spirit conceives her.
I see. So okay, gotcha. Oh, okay. Now, moving on from that to kind of your career, you are a structural engineer, right?
I am, yes.
And is that related to civil engineering?
It's a branch of civil engineering.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you did end up kind of going into the field that you studied.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. So the civil engineering is a big major, but then when you go in, there is you can do structural engineering or geotechnical engineering, which is like soils and or you can do hydro. Like there's a lot of little branches in civil engineering. Structure is one of them.
I see. Fun fact: you are coworkers with my wife.
I am
at the same firm.
She got me the job.
That's right. She introduced you, right?
Yeah,
that's
she
right.
did.
Yeah, and so that's your day job, right? From 8 to 4, the way that you work, and you also have pretty much 2 other jobs, right, on the weekends.
Yes.
Yeah. So how did those kind of come about?
How did they come about?
Yeah,
All of them.
Well, let's talk about the worship director position first. Yeah.
That came about because I used to lead worship in Brazil, at my church in Brazil. And then when I came here and I started dating Blaire, and then we decided that we were going to go to Korean church together, we came to Han Vision. And
can I ask you,
yes.
how did you end up at Han Vision? Because Han Vision is very far from Georgia Tech.
It is. Interesting story. I think end of my freshman year, summer, I went to Brazil. And I think that's when Blaire came to visit, which is crazy. But
Wow.
You should ask her about the story.
Okay.
But she came to visit because it was her graduation, and I guess that was her graduation gift to go to Brazil. So she came to visit, and long story short, going back to my old church and her being there, we just felt like we wanted to invest, in the next generation of students, because we were going to Victory Road Church when I was here, and it was just, just go service and you just leave.
It's a huge church.
Yeah, there's not many interactions. Like I don't know. I just felt like I wasn't very plugged in, and I wasn't investing in anything. It was just, and so we decided we're gonna go to Korean church. Came back, first week back or second week, Blaire had to get a haircut, and so we went to her hairdresser, who happens to be going to Han Vision.
Oh,
yeah, Irene. I don't know if you know Irene and Danny.
And then yeah.
So Irene was her hairdresser, which is another crazy story on its own because for some reason she ended up being her hairdresser.
Oh wow!
So we're having a conversation that day, and we're telling her about Brazil, and we're like, yeah, we kind of feel like we should go to Korean church. We're just gonna start looking, and she's like, oh, you should come to my church. My church is awesome. And it's funny because we wanted to go to a more established, like bigger EM kind of church, just because we didn't want to just be the leaders.
Yeah.
We wanted to, be under someone, be discipled.
Right.
And we're like, oh, how many people go there? And then she like started naming people, me, Danny. I was like, oh my gosh, okay, there's like 10 people there. So I don't think so, but I guess we'll check it out if we have time. And so that Sunday, we ended up we had plans to check it out and then go somewhere else after. So we were going to check out 2 churches. But we went, and the pastor, the message just blew us away. And we were like, okay. My mind was set. I don't know, but Blaire still kind of was thinking about it, but I was like, I don't need to look anymore. But we came back for a Bible study or something. I'm not sure what happened immediately after, but the next week we were back, and that was it. You know, the next week they were like, "Hey, we need a drummer. Do you want to play?" I was like, "Okay." And so I joined the praise team second week, and
Wow.
we were doing that. Blaire got plugged into the children's ministry right away, and she was helping the pastor as an assistant pastor. I'm not sure what she was, but she was serving in the children's ministry. And that winter, we went to Korea. Again, she went with her family. I went with my family. Just coincidentally, we ended up all in Korea. And that winter, things happened at our church, and the pastor ended up leaving. And so when we came back, the church was pastorless because he was the EM pastor, the youth pastor, the children's pastor. He did everything.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was, and he was the worship leader.
Wow.
Like he did everything.
Wow.
Yeah. So he left, and so, like I said before, there were like only like 15 people in the EM, and the rest was youth. You know, but there were like 90 youth kids at that time.
Wow.
Like a lot. They all left. All the youth kids left. Most of the EM people left, and yeah, it was just, we were just there, and you know, like, okay, well, there's no one left, so you lead worship and you do children's kind of thing.
Oh, wow. So that's how you got assigned the worship leader, worship director role. And
Well, I guess worship, I don't know what that means. Director and leader, I guess the same thing. I guess, yeah.
well, so I think of you more as a worship director because you're not just leading one team, right? You're like discipling and leading.
I guess at the time then, yes, just worship leader.
And then that's when Blaire became children's pastor?
That's when she did children's for a little bit until we got a KM, like a Korean older lady, to be children's pastor.
I see.
And so we had a couple of children's pastors until we decided, okay, after the last one left, we just asked Blaire to do it. They asked Blaire to do it, and then
because she became a children's pastor. What, like, is it 2 years?
3 years ago? Because
see.
that was, yeah, Eli was not born yet, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was around then.
And so from then on, you were just leading worship every week.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then so this was, what year was this when you became the worship leader?
2011 or 12. Yeah, 11, I think. Beginning of 2011.
I see.
Yeah.
And then you became youth pastor,
Yes.
what, only a few years ago, right? 3 years ago?
Yes. I think that was like 2 years ago.
Oh, I remember
sure. I'm not really good
you
with dates.
becoming youth pastor and Blaire becoming children's pastor relatively.
Yeah.
the same time.
She did. She became children's pastor first, and then they asked me to do it.
I see.
A couple months later, I think. Maybe a year later. It was very close in time. Yeah.
So you have like 3 big jobs, right? I mean, at a church, usually the pastor being the worship leader, it's not, unless it's a very small church, which your church is not, it's not very common, right? So how do you juggle all 3 of these jobs?
I don't hardly. Yeah, I think the first job, the main, the week job is just there because if there's no juggling, it's what it is.
Right.
8 to 4 is my hours, and that's what it is. And so after my time there at 4, I come home. It's 4:30. Between 4:30 till 7-ish is my time with my kids.
Yeah.
And then we put them to sleep. And then 7:38-ish is my time with Blaire until 10 or 11. So Friday, Saturday, Sundays, I'm at church pretty much. So Friday I go to church I leave home at 5:30. So I don't really it's just work and then church right away.
Yeah.
And then Saturday I'm at church it was usually from 2 to like 6-ish. And then Sundays, all day until like 2 p.m. from the morning.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's juggling is the right word. I think it's just everything has its own time slots. The hard part becomes with the youth ministry. I feel like I should be doing a better job of meeting up with people separate, like outside of my time on Friday, because it's impossible, for me to connect with all of them on a Friday night,
right?
Which is our youth service.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if I want to do that, then I'm sacrificing my time with my family, because it's not like every day I'm just like coming home, eating dinner, and then spend time with Blaire. Usually I'll have, one day will be discipleship, one day I'll just meet someone. So it ends up being 1 or 2 days with Blaire, really. And so to add student meeting in that time, and just feel like then I'm literally not spending any time with Blaire or quality time. We're in the same space, but we're so busy when it's like between 4 to 7, we're just like playing with the kids or like figuring out what they want, and she's making dinner while I'm trying to take care of them,
right?
So it's hard. I think it's hard. I feel like I'm not doing a good job.
No, I'm sure you are. So there's always something that, I guess, because you don't have infinite time, right?
Right.
So I'm sure there's always going to be, I wish I could do this more, but
yeah. So I think it's just at the end of the day, for me, it became, man, if I'm a good, for me, it almost feels like, man, if I'm a good youth director, then I feel like I'm being a bad dad and husband. But if I'm trying to be a good dad and husband, I feel like I'm being a crappy youth director,
right?
Because if I were not the youth director and I was looking at this person, I would be like, well, why is he not meeting up with people? You know what I mean? I would be thinking that. So yeah.
Well, I mean, I think it's just facts of life sometimes, where we're given the cards, we're dealt the cards that we have, and we kind of just do the best that we can with them, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm sure no one like blames you or is upset with you, right?
Not explicitly. Yes.
Well, I haven't heard anything from Pastor Joe, so I'm sure.
Yeah, he's more of a go with the flow kind of guy.
I see. So yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, I guess the answer to the question then is it's very difficult to do all those things. Do you see yourself? Do you kind of have a timeline for how much longer you'll be doing this, or is it just indefinitely until?
No, I don't have any timeline.
Wow.
I mean, ideally, honestly, for me would be if I could do ministry full time, but I don't think that's realistic, honestly.
Because you have to provide for your family.
For my family.
Do you not get a salary from church?
Right now, I do, but that would not be enough to do anything.
I see. Because Korean churches don't really always have a lot of funding for EM and youth and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Sadly.
Yeah, I don't understand that, but yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Which is fine,
Yeah.
I have my job.
Yeah. I see.
But that's the thing. That's why I feel like it would be hard for me to just go full-time ministry, because I would just look around and everyone else who is doing full-time ministry is also having to get another job anyways.
Right.
And so might as well keep mine.
Yeah. No sense in getting rid of it. Yeah.
There's no point.
I see. Oh, that's very insightful. Okay. So then I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about your music side. So one thing about our previous recording that I really like, and I'm kind of sad that we kind of scrapped it, is the fact that we actually recorded in your space,
right? Your
basement. That man, so you weren't feeling well, so I actually went to your house that day with kind of my portable setup, but that was the first time I saw your basement in a long time, and it's like completely decked out. You have this huge monitor with all this like music equipment, all these mics. You have what are those black like foam things?
Sound absorbers.
Like all over the place. It looked like a legit like recording studio. So you obviously are very musically talented as a worship leader, worship director, but do you do other stuff outside of the worship realm that's music related?
I do. It's been a hobby of mine since freshman year of college, or a little bit before that. But I enjoy messing with like recording and mixing and all that with the music side.
Yeah, and I have to mention that 2 of my previous guests have mentioned you as kind of their music mixers. First was Lydia Yoon, because you mixed her EP,
Yes.
right, and her song 심장이 말한다면,
Yes.
right? So what? Oh, and the second guest I mentioned you was Edward Edward Sun. And he just mentioned, he kind of threw out there, oh, I don't release new music because I don't want to have to mix it. Maybe I'll ask David to do it. So you're kind of known as a guy who mixes music. Can you explain a little bit what mixing music is? Because John Song explained it to me, but
Yeah.
I still don't really get it.
Okay. I feel like he did a good job, but
I just have a hard time understanding a lot
so
of
using
things.
his analogy, right? Mixing would be so he's making an analogy of a cake, right?
Yeah.
So you're given the ingredients of a cake. So say you go to the grocery store, you have to make cake. You buy flour, sugar, chocolate, strawberries, butter.
Yeah.
I don't know what else goes in.
Egg.
Water. I don't know.
Yeah.
So you have all this in your beautiful island,
Uh-huh.
right? But then mixing would be putting the right amount of each ingredient into this bowl. Does that make sense?
Interesting.
So you can't just throw everything in there. You have to put the right amount of everything so that you can make this final product.
Huh.
So in a musical, in a way to visualize the musical side of it is, say at church, you have seen the mixers, right?
Yeah.
All the all the volume knob thingies.
Right.
When each instrument plays, like the mic, singing, the guitar, and the piano, you don't just put them all in the same place, volume-wise. You kind of mix it, right? You mix it. You put everything in the right volume so that you can hear everything clearly. So that's what mixing is, really.
I see.
You're balancing out the volume of everything and the side panning of left and right and adding effects and cleaning things up so that you can clearly hear the music as it's intended to be heard.
I see.
And then the mastering is taking all that as it is and then making it radio ready.
Oh, wow. So you just do the mixing part, right?
Mostly, yes.
Do you dabble in mastering?
It's
Or is
hard to say because even mixing and mastering, everything for me just came from like self-learning.
I
just
see. Yeah.
watching endless YouTube videos, reading books, and like things like that. That I can't really say. But mastering in itself, it's a different process.
I see.
So, really, I think the most critical part of mastering is that after you're mixing, someone else is listening to what you did. Different pair of ears. Because you already heard this a million times. So even if I hear it again, I can't master it because
I see.
I hear the same thing I've heard. You know what I'm saying? But then when someone else is hearing it, it's like, okay, like this is standing out. I need to kill this a little bit. Like they can kind of do the certain, like, more, what do you call it? More fine tuning of it because they can hear it with different ears.
I see. So when you are mixing a song, how long does the process usually take? So let's just take Lydia's, is it the Together EP? Yeah, let's take that for example. How long did it take? There were 5 songs in that EP?
Yeah, I think so.
Or is it 6? I forget. But
yeah, I think it was like 5 or 6.
So how long did that take?
A long time.
Like, can you give us like a rough estimate per song how long it took?
Honestly, it's hard for me to give an estimate because I was doing mixing and editing at the same time. So editing is you do it before mixing. So editing is making sure all the tracks are in the right tempo. Like, you can't play everything perfectly.
Yeah.
So I'm going through each note that she played on the piano and making sure she played it in the right time, fixing like little things that are off.
Oh, wow.
Pitch every word that she's saying. And the recording process is like there's something called overdubbing. So you record one thing at a time. You can record everything at once, but one way to do it is you record just the piano and then you record the voice. So you record the voice like 10 times and then like kind of, get the best takes. So listening through every take, like
Oh, wow.
So if a song is like 4 minutes long, you're listening to every take. That's already, like 20, 30 minutes. Yeah, like, yeah, so because I was doing that along with mixing, I can't tell you how long it took. But I feel like every song, it took me a couple months for me to get it done, which I feel bad, like, cause if I was just doing that, it shouldn't take that long. But it was like,
you have your other,
I have everything,
but
then like I'll come home and then I sit there for an hour or two. And the first 20 minutes is like remembering what I did yesterday, and then like trying to pick up. But it was fun.
Oh, wow. So you enjoy doing that kind of stuff?
I love it. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And she also came over and recorded in your space too, right?
She did, yeah.
So then leads me to the most critical question that I have for you. I actually said this direct statement during our last recording. You are probably one of the best vocalists that I know that have not like released any of his own music. But you're always kind of in the background helping other people release their music. Is there a reason for that?
I think there are many reasons for that. Yeah, there's so many reasons for that. One reason is I don't think there is a clear purpose for me to release music that is just adding like not random noise, but if I'm just redoing someone's song, honestly, I am not better than the person. Like I know this for a fact that I'm, listen to Hillsong. Like if I'm gonna do a Hillsong song,
right?
Like you can listen to Hillsong. Why am I? There's for me there's this lack of purpose, which would be fixed if I wrote my own songs. There is the aspect of because it's mine, I end up not putting that much. So I record a lot of songs, but I end up just like doing it for fun, and I don't put that much effort into like making it real. You know what I mean? And it just becomes like a little, oh, that was fun, and then I move on to the next thing.
The pressure of completing it is not there.
Yeah, it's not there at all. So I never complete any song. And then another one that's pretty major, I think, it's like insecurities. Like I think being insecure in one side and the other side of me being a perfectionist, I don't think I can ever look at my whatever I did and think, oh, this is good enough. Like I don't think there is ever a place where I can say that to myself, because I don't feel like it's that good, honestly. At the end of the day, when I listen to it, and I'm like, oh yeah, I would not put this out there because I don't think it's that good.
Interesting.
And so the insecurities, the judgment, I guess, just because I know how judgmental I am, honestly, combined with my lack of purpose and lack of clear direction and vision, because if there isn't, then I'm just adding to the clutter. I'm just like filling the space with more noise, which is, there's that. There's a lot, I feel like.
Do you enjoy it though? So let me start there. Do you enjoy writing music at all?
I do. I enjoy it, but I don't go out of my way to make time to do it. Does it make sense?
I see.
Like there's if you want something, you would not sleep and do it, but I want to sleep.
I see.
Because then I can't do anything else.
Right. But is that mostly just because you are so busy with kind of everything that you already have to do? Or is it really a lack of, I just don't have enough interest?
If I had no job, then yeah, I would. But I think it's both. I think I don't really have that much time, and the time that I have, then I would rather do something else, like either spend time with Blaire, and even if it's just like mixing stuff on the bass, like maybe I end up just doing that because it feels more productive. You know what I mean? Than sitting with a pen and a guitar and trying to come up with something.
Yeah.
Maybe sometimes it doesn't feel that productive. So All my writing happens just spontaneously when I'm driving or something, and I'll just make a voice memo. So I have a lot of those.
I see. So the stance that I took when I first heard this at our first recording was just to push and say, man, you should make music because you are super creative. You're very talented musically. I don't think anyone would deny that. And you're an excellent worship leader.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, and again, I can find many people who would corroborate that statement as well. So to me, it's just when I see someone so talented, I wonder, man, they should be doing more with it, right? But I've actually been thinking about this, and I thought about it a lot, and I said, well, does it make sense to just push him to do things that might not be productive? Because you clearly are using your talents for a purpose, right? Leading worship, that's a great way to utilize your talents. In fact, you led at a retreat recently with 400 people?
Like 300.
Well, it was 300 students, 350 students, right? So including
total, I think.
Yeah. Oh, is it total?
I think so. I'm not sure.
Oh, but I mean, either way, it's a huge number of people that you led worship for. So yeah, I mean, what do you think? Do you feel like you're already kind of utilizing your skill set enough, or do you feel like you need to do more with it? Sorry, this is a random question that I'm throwing in there.
I don't know what the word enough means. I feel like, is there ever an enough? If I've been, because last time I said that I didn't think I was that good, which was one of the major like reasons for me not to make music of my own. And I don't know. I feel like there is a part of me that feels like if you have something that you should use it to its full potential. Yeah. I don't know what that looks like, honestly. I don't know if that looks like recording to me. Right. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe just for me, it means leading worship because leading worship for me, I put a lot of effort into that, like into honing my craft. Yeah. And I told you last time that I wasn't really good musically, right? Like that music, theoretically, I'm not very, like, I don't really know anything. Like, to be honest, like, I don't know notes. I don't know how to read, like, music. I don't know theory. I don't know anything, But this is the part that I feel like I had said it wrong, is that yes, I don't know anything theoretically, but I do put a lot of effort into doing well what I know. Yeah, yeah. So, like I told you last time, I was like, oh, I only know like 6 chords. That's all you need. But really, that's all you need. But I know them really well. Right. Yeah. So I didn't want it to sound like, oh, like I suck and I can't do anything. I do put in my time in trying to do my best because it allows me to do it more freely if I'm good at it, or if I know what I'm doing. Yeah. I don't have to think about the next chord or word that I'm going to sing. Right. I can actually lead worship. I can actually be praying for someone or looking and making eye contact with someone instead of looking at a sheet of paper. Yeah. That being said, I don't know why I'm saying this, but to the question of am I doing enough, I don't know if there's an answer to that. I see. Honestly. Yeah. I don't know.
No, yeah, and it was just a kind of food for thought type of question, just so we can think about it. Because like I thought I had a clear understanding of, oh yeah, everyone should be doing this kind of. But after our conversation and when I thought about it, it really made me question: should I be pushing people to do things that they might not necessarily find value in, right? But that is I say this, but on the other hand, I would love to see music that you release, and songs that you write, because like I said, you clearly have a talent. Vocally, you're amazing. Guitar, you say you only know 6 chords, but from an outsider's perspective, it looks like you know every chord because you're.
Yeah, because I use a capo.
No, but yeah, it's no, but you definitely.
I'm very good at using the capo.
And you know you're really good at drums. You know, it's not like, yeah, you clearly have talent. You clearly are excellent at your craft.
Thank you.
So whenever I see people like that, I always just say, "Oh yeah, you should. The world needs to know. You know, let's show the world." But yeah, it's still something that I'm struggling with. Even as we're talking right now, I'm still deciding, should I push him to release music or should I not? I don't know.
So what would be the purpose of me recording a song?
I think same purpose of this podcast is there are stories to be told, whether it's your personal story or a story regarding something else.
Like writing a song.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see. I can see a point in that. Yes.
No, or even just recording a song. I think there's a difference between hearing Hillsong and hearing praise music from someone that I know.
Oh, really?
Right?
I
Because
don't know.
like if I go to church and they just put up a video of Hillsong leading worship, I don't feel like I'm worshiping as much as if there was someone I knew on the stage.
But that's
leading worship.
Right. But then you'd still be hearing me. If it was a recording, it would just be the same, wouldn't it?
I don't think so. Because if it's someone I know, like, because I can't on demand ask you to lead me in worship, right? I can't just call you up one day and say, "Hey, I feel like I'm in a worshipful mood. Can you just quickly lead me in worship?" But if I were to have access to a song that you had recorded, I think it would take me back to that worshipful moment that I was in during that worship session.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? So I think there is value.
Oh, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah. I think there's more value if like you were to release a song that you wrote, because it's like double, right? But I wouldn't say that there's no value in you recording music either. And even if it's just to do it, you know, just so you kind of get into the groove of the process of recording and releasing music.
So yeah, that I see a value in. I feel like the ability to finish something and put it out there is something that I need to acquire, because you know that I feel like when you do the first one, you can kind of like get the groove and start doing it. But just that first releasing something out into the world is just again, there are insecurities, and honestly, part of me feels like I don't know if any kind of attention would do well for my soul, to be honest.
Oh, like that temptation.
Yeah, I do fear that in my own heart, on my prideful heart. I don't know what even if one person, you know, to me, I don't know what that would do to my heart, and so there is some caution there too. Because,
I see. Oh, that's very wise.
I don't know. It's hard. And I struggle with that a lot. I struggle with social media a lot. I don't know if you noticed, but I don't really post anything. Maybe my kids sometimes, because
I
they're doing
think
something funny.
Everything I see of you, it's usually you're posting something about your kids.
Which I don't know. I just find it hard to understand it. Like how much attention we are craving.
I see.
In general, why do people need to know that I'm doing this? And honestly, when it comes down to it, is I want them to be jealous. You know, I want them to see this. Why? You know, to see that I'm doing well, or to see that I'm having fun. I don't know. It's a whole rabbit hole. That, you know, I would never stop if I go. But
you know, but just to kind of rebut that a little bit, I think there is something freeing about seeing someone that is like you doing something that hasn't been done before. So, for example, the reason I have this podcast, I would say there's a lot of influence from other podcasters locally. For example, like the KTL podcast, or the Growing Family podcast with Andrew and Mimi.
All very great, by the way.
Yeah. Those podcasts, I heard and I said, wow, if these guys can do it and they're in my local community, what's stopping me from doing a podcast of my own? And so, yeah, I think just being in a community of people who are willing to put themselves out there and express themselves creatively, there is a subconscious, permission that I receive to do the same. So I think there is that value. Yeah. But again, I think you are wise to be cautious about the whole what it would do to your soul, like with pride and all that. So yeah, but I would say though that if you're thinking that you releasing music will add no value to anyone else, I think that's wrong. I think people will see, oh wow, David, the guy that goes to my church, like he can do it. Like what's stopping me from doing it? And I think it could be freeing for a lot of people. And I think we need that in the Asian American community. There aren't many Asian American creatives out there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So, wow, we are at hour 15. Sorry to the listeners. It's funny because the episode right before this, I actually mentioned how I'm trying to keep it under or at least like to an hour. But man, there's just so much that we needed to cover. So, lastly, before we sign off, I wanted to ask you: was there anything that we didn't cover that you wanted to talk about?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Or I mean, we talked about a lot of things. I'm not sure.
We did talk about a lot of things. Yeah. If anything comes to your mind, maybe you can make a surprise appearance when I record with Blaire.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
That also is like feels like a waste because Blaire did like end up stumbling into our recording session last time, and we got to talk to her a little bit, which was really fun. But yeah. Anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you, David, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
For the listeners, if you resonated with anything we talked about, if you had any questions, any comments, any answers to the questions that we asked you guys, please feel free to transmit those questions to me via my email at IHTHT podcast. That's I hope they hear this abbreviated podcast@gmail.com, or at Twitter, the same name, IHTHT podcast, or on Instagram at I hope they hear this. And look out for the video on YouTube to be released on Wednesday following the release of the episode. Usually on Wednesdays. Okay. Don't hold me to it. But yeah, feel free to subscribe and like and comment and all those things. And yeah, any questions or comments toward David, if you'd send them to me, I will make sure it gets to him. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being here so late and being here amidst your hectic schedule and busy life.
Thank you for having me twice.
Yeah, so thank you guys for listening once again, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye.
Bye.